Welcome to the Thriving on Purpose podcast, where we teach Christian entrepreneurs how to build a strong foundation of faith, growth, and skill to lead and thrive on purpose in life and business. And now, here are your hosts, certified coaches Elisabeth and Sebastien Richard.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Thriving on Purpose podcast. Today we're going to talk about a really interesting subject, and we have the perfect expert for the job. And that expert is Elisabeth. We're going to talk about, the title is a question, okay? And the question is this: is being vulnerable, raw, and real destroying your influence as a kingdom entrepreneur? So what does this mean exactly? Well, we've seen trends online. We've been doing business online for a few years now. Elisabeth particularly has been very involved in all kinds of coaching groups and all that. And she's seen all kinds of trends when it comes to marketing yourself online and trying to attract an audience. And what does that entail? And how should you do it? And how should you position yourself? And there's many different camps on this very subject. And Elisabeth, I would like you to, this week, I want you to dig deeper.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you are entrepreneurs online, building your businesses online and social media. And I really want to touch on this topic because I've seen how it's been affecting different Christian entrepreneurs to a point where I think even some Christian entrepreneurs have lost their identity and just don't know what a kingdom entrepreneur is supposed to look like online. Okay, so is being vulnerable, raw, and real destroying your influence as a kingdom entrepreneur? So I want to talk about a few dangers and really go deep in this topic to explain to you the differences a little bit here and how it could be hindering your influence as a kingdom entrepreneur and also maybe displeasing to your Father in heaven, okay? So as you know, we live in a fallen world, and you know there isn't a lot of content out there for Christian entrepreneurs. So a lot of us Christian entrepreneurs follow a lot of trendy entrepreneurs, okay? And there's a danger, like they say, chew the grass, spit out the hay. Well, we try to do that, but sometimes some Christian entrepreneurs can be kind of, influenced in a certain way of thinking and acting and talking, and this is where it can be dangerous. So the one of the big trends going on is being vulnerable, raw, and real in a way that people are basically talking about personal information, in their marriages, in their lives, basically a lot of stuff that is of a sinful nature, if you want, is being shined upon as if it's a good thing. So, they'll talk to their followers, and I've seen this a lot with network marketers, especially, airing out their dirty laundry, what they did, they got wasted and they had fun and they did this and they did that. And some of it is negative. Some of it is, I just had a fight with my boyfriend and he did this.
I've seen some cry. I've seen some people cry.
Yeah.
They go on, they do a Facebook Live, they're crying. They're like, I just have a huge fight with my husband or boyfriend or whatever. And they're crying and they're like, this is me. This is me being real right now. This is me being real. I'm like, is that absolutely necessary that you do a Facebook Live showing your audience that you're being real? You could have cried before and then added value.
Yeah, so that's the thing is that you'll notice in general, a lot of these people are trying, a lot of them are non-believers, and a lot of them are basically talking about different sins that they're dealing with. And, basically what my grandmother used to say, airing out their dirty laundry for everybody to look at, okay? Now, a lot of you might be thinking, yeah, but as Christians, we have to be honest. And if we're going through these things, we need to, share to our audience. There's a thin line you don't want to cross. True. Now, if you're trying to be an influencer and you're trying to build an audience And let's say you're a coach or a network marketer
or a pastor,
somebody that's trying to coach people, mentor people. There's certain no-nos that you don't do online, okay? And we're going to talk a bit about this. So I just want to address the first point here, okay? So the danger with I'm going to tell you all my sins and show you all my dirty laundry and share everything that just happened that's raw, and I just need like all this support from all these people on my timeline rooting me on and whatnot, is that, well, for one, I've seen it many times that the followers that you get that can relate to you, because a lot of these social media gurus are teaching you to do that because they want you to grow this following of people that can identify to you. And
they want you to be real too. They don't want you to fake it till you make it. So sometimes there's a thin line between that and saying, I'm just going to be myself. So you can be yourself, but you can be yourself a little too overly much.
Exactly. And what's happened with that danger, and I've seen a lot of coaches try to undo that afterwards, is like, well, keep your posture and don't say too much. And now they're trying to kind of like undo it because people have gone like a little crazy with that. And then so next thing you know, you have a bunch of sorority girls wanting to follow you because they can identify to everything you're dealing with, but they don't necessarily want to be leaders in your network marketing. So they're going to join because they want to feel included into this whole group and experience and share and stuff, but they don't want to do the work of a network marketer. So the leader that attracted these women is going to drag them the whole time, and it's going to end up badly. I've seen it many times. It's just not going to end well because these girls are not leaders. They don't want to be leaders. They didn't join you because they're leaders. No. They don't want to build a business.
They felt understood. They just joined you because at that moment in time when you were being raw, they felt understood, and then you attracted a whole bunch of followers at that moment. But guess what? They're not your audience.
Exactly. So that's one of the dangers. The other danger is losing your credibility because let's face it, as a leader, if you want to attract other leaders, they're attracted to leaders, okay? And
like we said before many times, Christian entrepreneurs, by their very essence of who they are leaders. You're an ambassador for Christ. That's a leadership position that is bestowed upon you by God Almighty.
Exactly.
So you're automatically a leader, whether you honor that title well or not. Mm-hmm. You're a leader.
Yeah, and so the other danger that I've seen is that some Christians have tried to conform to the world in the sense that it's almost like they have to, try to scratch and find stuff that they can, talk about so that people can feel real and feel like they're authentic. Like, why are Christian entrepreneurs trying to find the things that aren't working well in their life to talk about it, to make them feel real, when this world is so living in darkness and they need light? They need people that have their heads together, screwed on properly, and they need to hear people that have answers and that know where they're going. And am I saying that a Christian entrepreneur, a kingdom entrepreneur is perfect? Absolutely not. We are not perfect, but we do have winning recipes, and it's through the Bible. And these people are so lost that they have no idea. They have no guidance. Most of them haven't even learned about Jesus, haven't even heard about him, because when they went to school, it was like already out of the religion program, and it didn't exist, and it was just economics or whatnot. That's what we're dealing with.
And there was one. It's funny that you say that we, we don't have all the answers, but we do have a heck of a lot more than most people, right? And it's funny because I once saw a billboard. Billy Graham was coming to town, and there was a billboard announcing the crusade that was going to take place at the time. And it said, he doesn't have all the answers, but he knows someone who does. And they said, welcome to Billy Graham Crusade,
Exactly.
the so-and-so dates, and you're all welcome, free entrance, whatever. Well, I thought that was so spot on. And that's exactly what a Christian entrepreneur is. We don't have all the answers, but we know someone who does.
Exactly.
And that it makes us inherently, that positions us inherently well in a world that's gone in many respects mad.
Exactly.
There's even another quote I remember reading that really made me pause and think. It said, "It is no sign of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." And so, as Christians, we go against the current. We don't follow the flow of the world. We march to the beat of a different drummer, and it should show. And so, when we're being told to be raw and all that, and we should know where to draw that line that you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about being perfect, and I'm going to address the different things that Christian entrepreneurs do go through, and it can be difficult, and it's hard sometimes to keep your posture and all that, and we're going to talk about that later. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the other problem is being fake until you make it. Now that
faking it till you make it.
We've all heard, and I think that the trend to be real and raw, as they're saying, has come from a sickness of being so disgusted with the fake it till you make it kind of people. Okay, so we have those entrepreneurs that they're convinced, and we know we've been there, we've heard, we've seen, we've been in those groups of people. And there's a lot of people that are convinced that if they don't look successful, if they don't act successful, if they don't have the perfect car, if they don't drive the perfect thing, if they don't dress the perfect way, they will not be deemed as successful, and people will not follow them, and they just, are not going to have a business. Mm-hmm. So you have these, guys renting cars,
I've seen
living
that.
with 5 other friends in an apartment, broke, dressing like they're making millions of dollars, faking their life away because they're so convinced that they'll never get a sign up in their network marketing business if they're not like this.
Remember that guy on YouTube? Hey, this is me in my backyard. Remember that guy? I don't know if you guys saw the ad, but you probably have.
With his 12 cars.
And that was proven. There was a video on YouTube that was made to debunk it, and it showed that hey, this is me in my backyard. It was actually a hotel. Okay?
Yeah,
so just
there was a bunch of fake cars that were rented, and it was just a whole fake shindig. But at the same time, we laugh, but we're like, okay, this poor kid is not making it. He's trying to fake it until he makes it because he has no other idea what to do to get followers and get people to buy whatever it is he's selling. Right?
But it works. I mean, to some degree it works. And they do some acquire success through that. But, I mean, it's going to find them out eventually.
Exactly. And the Bible talks about that clearly. So okay, so back to our topic. So that way of life obviously is dishonest, and so many entrepreneurs out there, they're just trying to make it. We're Christian entrepreneurs. This is where it's tough. We want to be honest, and at the same time, if we're too honest, it can bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
So, when you're trying to get signups in network marketing, lying and saying that you have a huge team and I don't know, whatever you can concoct as a lie, there's no point, because when the person's going to sign up, they're going to know the truth.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
no point. They're going to discover that the team you're talking about was really, the other lady's team that signed you up, and it's not your team, and they're your first sign up or second sign up or whatever. Lies will get you, like my mom always used to say, lies have very short legs, right? You can't get away with them. It just doesn't work that way. So it's best to find clever ways to be honest, but, not always keeping your posture, okay? So, for example, if I have nobody in my network marketing business and I want to, talk about my business and talk about how on fire I am for the company and, different things that I can mention that are positive. If the person would ask me direct questions, I can say I'm a part of a very big team, you know? Instead of saying I have a team, I'm a part of a big team. We all love each other. We're supportive of each other. We're growing really fast. We have great leaders. You know, there's a way to posture things to make it sound great without you having to lie.
Exactly.
Basically. That's just an example off the top of my head. Okay, so there's also what we've all been, you know, what we've all heard by Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. I don't really follow him much, but I've heard him say that you know, that people like to follow the journey. So he's like the marketing guru. Everybody's like, okay, he's saying follow the journey and this and that. So what does that look like? Well, people like authenticity when it comes to following the journey in what you're doing. So he's talking to an audience of people that are, a lot of them are startups. They're starting different things. You know, you could be, for example, in weight loss, and that could be a really good strategy because you're saying, look, this is me day one. I'm doing this challenge. We're going to be, you know, really honest about our struggles. We're going to get through this. And at the end of this challenge, you know, this is going to happen. We're going to all be, you know, really happy and celebrate or whatever.
Or you could be a Christian entrepreneur who has a team and who wants to bring his team through a fasting breakthrough. Say, okay, we're going to do a 21-day fast, and I'm going to film myself every day. I'm going to do a live so you guys can interact. We can talk about our struggles, whatever, what we've been going through that day. That's the journey as well. That's good too.
Exactly. And it all depends on what exactly you're doing online.
Exactly.
If you're doing those kind of challenges and you want to include people in the challenge that you're doing, and then you want to document it, or you want to use those videos to show people afterwards, you know, your success, you know, that you lost 25 pounds or whatever after a certain time, and you want people to follow that journey and see how you went through the process, that's great. Just like, you know, some people are doing startups and they're starting different things, different businesses, and let's say, I don't know, in graphic arts, and they're wanting to show people what they're learning as they go along, putting their videos on YouTube. This is what I'm learning. And so a lot of people are following that journey. And even I heard a very successful network marketer say that she had documented her YouTube videos in a way that she was saying, this is what I have learned on this topic.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I'm the answer to everything, I know it all, she would go from a teachable point and say, look, this topic, this is what I've learned, this is what I've studied, this is what I've seen the top earners do. So people are like, okay, she's not saying she's a top earner. She's giving us really valuable information. We love listening to her. We're learning stuff, and we're going to follow her. And guess what happened? She got a lot of followers. A lot of people wanted to join her team. They identified to her, and they saw the process. They saw her grow from a newbie network marketer to a successful network marketer. So she built her credibility.
And what the example you're giving now is really a good example of balance, of being kind of raw and vulnerable in a way without losing your posture. And that's the balance that's so hard to keep for any entrepreneur and for Christian entrepreneurs as well.
Exactly. And I just wanted to show you guys a few definitions, because I was actually surprised. I did it for fun. I just wanted to see what the definitions of these terms were on the net. And then I looked up a few blogs and a few topics out there online talking about being vulnerable, raw, and real. And I really was it was interesting to see how the world has really made their own definition for this term that is completely different when you look it up, one by one. So the definition of being vulnerable is susceptible to physical or emotional attack or harm. Okay, so like we hear it often said, we were in a vulnerable position, in danger, in peril, in jeopardy, at risk, endangered, unsafe, unprotected, ill-protected, unguarded.
And I think online, we mostly, when people say vulnerable, I think they mean mostly unguarded.
Yeah.
Or, like, I'm letting my guard down here because I want you guys to see me at my vulnerable state, whatever. But there's only so low you can, you got.
There's also the
you
danger.
can put your guard down, but.
Yeah. But there's also the danger of, I would say, the spirits. Okay. And when I say the spirits, is the enemy always tries to look for different ways that he can tear you down. Okay, so putting yourself in a too vulnerable state, and I say too vulnerable because I'm not saying it's wrong to be a little vulnerable in certain instances, but honestly, I think if you're gonna go there, if you're gonna be vulnerable, I think it should be on a topic that you've overcome.
Amen.
Okay?
Yes.
Because if it's something you're going through right now, then you're just saying you're an open shot for the enemy to come and just kick at you. Okay?
Oh, that's a good point.
And I've seen this happen many times. When you're in the raw and the thick of things and things are going really bad and you're struggling with something, being vulnerable at that point when you haven't overcome that yet is very difficult, because then you'll get haters, you'll get criticism, and you're a lot more sensitive to it, and it can, hinder you more. The enemy can try to attack you more, play with your psyche, with your mental state even more.
And depending also, you're putting yourself out there on social media, so you're going to get the comments, you're going to get the interactions that you may not like, especially if you're vulnerable right now.
Exactly. So you
if
have
you're
to be
in it right now, you might get some punches thrown at you by people interacting with you that are basically being used, like you said, by the enemy to get you even farther down, in the dumps.
Haters that don't like what you're talking about. You might be a kingdom entrepreneur teaching kingdom, and then you're going to get all this negative feedback if you're talking about a certain point that you're vulnerable, that you haven't, see God show up in your life. It's just an example like that. And then, this hater is like, just giving you all these, jabbing you and all these negative comments that already hit home because you're already vulnerable, you're already talking about what hurts, right? So in the beginning, when we started in entrepreneurship, I always told my husband, I said, I've noticed that the biggest coaches, the biggest leaders out there, and I'm talking about Christians out there, would oftentimes abstain from talking about something they were going through at that moment.
They talked about what they had overcome in the past.
Exactly. And oftentimes what they did talk about was always in a light of, I'm adding value to you. I see that you're struggling with this. I see that this is a pain point, whether it be in the church, whether it be, in the group or whatever, and I can relate to this because I've been there. So that's a good way for you to be real, to show that you're genuine, authentic, is to talk about stuff, because like they say, nobody wants to be led by a fake, right? You don't necessarily want a leader that's always got the perfect answers, like out of a storybook. You do want to hear genuine experience. You do want to hear wisdom. You do want to hear, like they say, evaluated experience. I used to struggle with this, and maybe this can help you, because I remember how I felt when I was going through this, and this and this and this happened, and I believed this, or I felt like that, and I learned, God showed me through this that blah 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 blah, and that's how I overcame this.
There you go.
And so
because you're an encouragement when you do that. You're showing them that this can be overcome because I've overcame it, and I used to be like that too. So you show them that basically that they're not alone, but you also show them the other side, that hey, you can do this. I've done it. You can do it.
Exactly. So that's another example of how you can spin this around. I'm going to read you the definition of raw. Okay, so being in a or nearly in the natural state, not processed or purified, raw fibers, raw sewage.
Wait, not processed or purified. I like that.
Not diluted or blended, unprepared, imperfectly prepared for use, not being in polished, finished, processed form, raw data, having the surface abraded, very irritated.
Lacking covering.
Yeah, naked, not protected. It says here, susceptible to hurt. Lacking experience or understanding. Even some will say raw language could be like vulgar.
Yeah, there's a thin line between being raw and
tempered,
being coarse.
unbridled. Okay, raw power. And then definition of real, genuine, not artificial. So basically authentic. It's interesting to me because a lot of, when I was reading the raw definition, a lot of the verses, that we read in the Bible, that talk about how we're to be purified and how God, works to basically sanctify us, and all these verses that come to your head make you see that God doesn't want you in a raw state. He wants you purified. He's working you in a way that he wants you to become more like him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and even T.D. Jakes talks about it when he talks about the crushing and the whole process of God crushing you. That it's a process to make you stronger.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's very important that we understand that as kingdom entrepreneurs, our calling is different. We're called to be ambassadors of the King. We're called to be these examples. And I know that sometimes, life can happen and we feel like, well, what am I going to do? I am going through a certain thing and it's difficult. And you're in this position of authority or of leadership, and you don't feel sometimes adequate to show up to par some days, because life does happen and things do happen, and you do have arguments with your husband, or things aren't always perfect, like with your kids, or other different, all kinds of things can happen, right?
And we've been open with you guys. I mean, since the beginning of this podcast, Thriving on Purpose podcast, we've talked about our own struggles and what it's like to raise a family, and the problems we encounter, and the marital strife you can encounter, and all that. And even in one episode, I remember Liz talking openly about when we lost our daughter. I mean, we spoke openly about that. But I don't think we would have been in a good place while it was happening to talk about it. I mean, we were not equipped to deal with whatever could have come from that, being in it.
No.
I mean, there's a time when you're going through the struggle, when you're going through the process, that you have to keep to yourself. Notice how when Jesus went to the desert, was led by the Spirit to the desert to be tempted by the devil, during that time where he was fasting, when he was vulnerable, he wasn't preaching. He was alone by himself dealing with this. That was his process, okay, before he began his ministry. And it's the same thing for us. When we're being crushed, like Elisabeth said, undergoing some crushing, or sanctification, some would call it. You might be better off talking about something else that can add value, or whatever else that you can talk about. Because when you're under that pressure, when you're in the valley, it's not a good time to talk about the valley.
Exactly. And it always depends on the context and exactly what you're doing. It's kind of hard to, there's different examples. Like I said, some types of businesses, you can bring people in the journey of your struggles and it's okay. And other times when you're in a position of leadership, of influence, of leadership, it's best to, I personally, I recommend obviously talking to your father, and I think a lot of Christians...
And having a good mentor also in which you can confide.
Having a good relationship with your father is not just, I'm struggling with this and I'm just going to ask forgiveness for this when it's happened and I have to deal with it. And then you feel like this guilt, and then you have to ask God for forgiveness, and then you feel like you can't lead these people because you're not in the right state of mind because of that, and that's hindering you. But there's also, talking to God about your struggles. So, I don't know what example I can use for that, but in the sense that you would say, Lord, I'm struggling with this right now. I'm finding this very difficult to deal with a certain thing. Give me the strength to overcome. A lot of Christians don't implicate God until it's over, until it's done with and they've sinned, and it's like, okay, God, I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. Like, God wants to be part of your struggles. God wants to have that relationship with you where he does give you that strength, where he does help you to overcome. Yeah. And that is, that's something that I've been working with my son too. He's had many different difficulties with having ADHD and stuff, and he's learning slowly to ask God every day when it is difficult. And he's told me, he's told me several times that today was a good day. God helped me with blah, blah, blah. I was surprised I was able to do this and that. And, he saw that he overcame because he had that strength, that power that day, that God answered his prayer. And it was really important so it's a very different way of going about your relationship with God than just, him being the person that always forgives you when you messed up.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So both are important, basically. But like Sebastien was saying, a good mentor, confiding in your wife and your husband is really, really important. And there's a lot of Christian entrepreneurs and a lot of entrepreneurs out there that will omit certain struggles. They don't want to talk about it with their wives. And I think it just honestly makes things fester more. And, any sinful thing, anything that you're struggling with, not being out in the open in your marriage, obviously it's just going to blow up your marriage eventually. So it's really important to be honest with each other, confide in each other, and to seek a good Christian mentor or coach is really, really important. Ideally, you want to find a good Christian mentor older than you that's been through the path that you want to take, that has the results in what you want to accomplish in your business. It's really, really important that you find a good Christian mentor, because sometimes, there are certain things, for example, that your wife can't understand because she's not a man. She's not a Christian man following that leadership position.
Yeah, or your husband.
Yeah, exactly. Or your husband. Sometimes it's, maybe you're in network marketing and, your husband's, I don't know, a blue collar or doing something completely different and completely doesn't understand entrepreneurship. And you have your own struggles as a woman, your own struggles as a female entrepreneur. And you just need to talk to a seasoned Christian mentor that's been through that path, that can, hopefully you'll find somebody that's still married, because that's a big problem in network marketing. A lot of people are divorced because they let their businesses take over their family relationships. So it's important, like I said, to look at what the results are. They're happily married. They've been doing the certain business for many, many years. They have the results that prove it. They're good and Christian people, have integrity.
In other words, you shall know them by their fruit.
Exactly. And they're willing to mentor you. That is a huge, huge blessing, because you'll have somebody to confide in that's going to understand you and that's going to be able to give you some good advice on different things that you may be struggling with. So sometimes, we need guidance from a wise mentor that can help you with your character, your marriage, and your walk with God. I know I've had God put many different mentors on my path during my life that I needed. When my mom passed away when I was 16, I didn't have that female example that I really needed, and he did put several, at least two good Christian ladies on my path that were older than I was, and that were able to teach me different things and were able to develop my Christian character and give me guidance when I was lost and I didn't know, how to do certain things, and was discovering certain things. Obviously, I was very young at the time, but it's the same thing works for people. People think that when you're in a leadership position, sometimes that you don't need that, but it's the contrary. You need it even more.
Even more, yeah.
Because as you grow as a kingdom entrepreneur, and as you develop your skills, and as you move for God's kingdom, you're developing more territory. You're going through more difficult things, accomplishing more. There's more stress.
There's more challenges.
There's more negative feedback. There's more haters. There's a lot that goes with the territory. So
there's more of everything.
So it's really, really important that you seek to have these things to really help and motivate you and guide you. And I'm going to read you a few verses that come to mind. There's a lot of verses on integrity. I found quite a few. And I think, when we talk about, the guilt of feeling like we have to be fake for people to believe in us, I think those verses are important to read and think about, because God blesses those that have integrity and have the fruits that he's looking for. And you have to remember that, as a Christian, you won't have the same success as a non-Christian, in the sense if you're going to go about it that way. So if you're going to go about it the worldly way, God is going to chastise you. He's going to teach you better.
True. Yeah.
Because you're his child. So you can't do what the worldly kids do because you aren't part of the world. You're not going to get those results.
Exactly. That's not your family.
So you might as well walk the line.
Walk the line and get the bigger blessing. And,
exactly.
And then saying, oh, there's a shortcut, and take it and have God go like, oh, really? You're going that way? Okay. Well, I'm out for a while. I'll take a time out. I'll take 5. Have fun. When you want to talk to me, I'll be available.
So there's a verse here that comes to mind, Proverbs chapter 10, verse 9. Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out.
That's what we were talking about earlier, that if you do some crooked stuff, it's going to be found out eventually.
Exactly. And I like this one too in Proverbs chapter 11, verse 3. The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity, which means sharp practice and swindling.
Swindling. Ever been tempted to swindle, Lizzie?
So there's that. And we'll end with 2 verses here. In Matthew chapter 5:48, it says, "Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect."
That's an admonition from Jesus that for some reason, we don't remember. We never
or
talk about it. Or
they don't want to remember.
We don't want to remember.
We're too busy focusing on our sins, right?
No, we're too busy focusing on the grace of God too. Like grace, greasy grace. And did Jesus really say that? Be perfect like your heavenly Father is perfect. So basically, Jesus, he doesn't expect you to be perfect. He expects you to aim for perfection.
Right.
So that's something as Christian, especially Christian entrepreneurs, that we need to apply in all aspects of our lives. In our family life, in our public life, in our business. We should aim for this level of integrity where no one can say anything wrong about you. It says, Paul, when he gives the qualification for the elders, if you're going to have elders in your church, he says that they should have a good report from the outside. So it's not just from people in the church that should think highly of us, but also people who are not in the church should be able to say, yeah, so-and-so person, great guy, super honest, he's going to give you great service, go above and beyond, over-deliver. All these things should be said of you, of course, in the church, but also outside of the church in your dealings with people.
Exactly. In your business offers, in the way you interact with people, how you treat people, how you add value to people. Always think, try to impress the secretary kind of thing. Like some businessmen, businesswomen will treat the closest ones to them in business not so great. And they just want to impress those with the money or those that are going to give something to them in their business. Like, that's why I'm saying impress the secretary. If the secretary loves you and thinks you're awesome, then you are awesome.
And it's good for business too.
You know what I mean? And I know other courses, I know a lot of people that it was the opposite. I've seen a lot of things and it's disappointing because, those are the people around you that work with you every day that see your authenticity, see your character. And especially if you're a kingdom entrepreneur, you're portraying this image, that you're a Christian and that you want to do good things for God. Well, you have to show it in everything. Like even the mailman that comes to bring you your mail should know that you're a nice guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Liz, what advice would you give our listeners if they're going to be that perfect blend of being real and keeping their posture? How is that done?
I think honestly, it's less about us and always about others. So when you start getting into the danger of talking too much about you and your struggles and you're this and you're that, you're not helping anybody in reality, okay? Like if you focus on what your audience is struggling with and what they're going through, maybe at that point in time, maybe that is your struggle. Maybe that's something that you haven't overcome yet. Well, guess what? That's why it's wonderful to have other Christian entrepreneur friends that maybe have a stronger business sense in that. Maybe they have overcome that. Maybe they have success in that. And you can say, hey, you know what? My audience is having a certain pain point and they're dealing with this and that. Could you come and share how you dealt with this and learn from other Christian entrepreneurs? You are not the end all be all. You don't have all the answers. And that's what's so important in as a kingdom entrepreneur, working with other kingdom entrepreneurs. You all have different strengths. You all have different journeys. You all live through different things at different points in time. So, you can have somebody else that excels really well in a certain area and you want that for your audience. You want them to have that. Then you can invite that person and say, I'd love for you to share. And maybe that person has a book that they're selling on the certain topic. Well, let your audience get that book.
Yeah.
Stop having a scarcity mentality that you have to be the end all be all, have the answers to everything, and write all the books on every topic that exists and known to man so that, your audience thinks you're God. They're not going to think you're God. You can't think like that. You have to work as the body of Christ. So as a kingdom entrepreneur, we need to be constantly adding value to other kingdom entrepreneurs. So, you have them over, they talk about their business, they talk about how they can help, they give us powerful message, help your audience. Maybe you're going to go and do the same thing to his audience. Or, maybe God will just open other doors because you're sowing seeds of, blessings. Okay, this is gold, what I'm telling you. So when you have other kingdom entrepreneur friends that have a specific gift, or they've have successes in a certain area and that you can't deliver that, or perhaps it's just a really good idea to have them anyway, just because everybody identifies to another person's story differently. Even if you've been hammering the same message for the last 6 months, sometimes when it comes from somebody else, that person's going to finally get it. So it's really important. And I know because I've had many different mentors and I get something completely different from each one of them. There's different things I like about each one of them differently, even if a lot of them are in the same niche. So stop having a scarcity mentality, thinking that, oh my gosh, I have to be have all the answers all the time and know everything and basically write all my Kindle books. I can't refer anything to anybody because, they're going to think that I'm inadequate because I'm giving other people's information. I don't have all the answers.
Actually, it's the opposite is really true. No matter how you add value to someone, even if it's by referring someone else's service or product, the person who benefited from the said service or product that you referred will never forget you for referring it if it really, really helps them.
Exactly, because then
They'll
you
always remember, a Sebastien Richard told me, or Elisabeth Richard told me about such and such book that they didn't write, or such and such service that they don't offer, but it really transformed my life.
Exactly, because you become that source of gold information.
So they'll go back to it. They'll go back to the source. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, let me go back to this website because they had really good information. Maybe they have what I'm looking for. They're going to remember you and they're going to come back.
Amen.
So you have to remember that, that it's all about adding value to your audience, solving problems, and helping others and adding value to them. That's how you become a successful kingdom entrepreneur. And that's what God wants. God wants us to help others. He wants us to strengthen the body of Christ. He wants us to strengthen other leaders, other Christian leaders. So when you're doing that, you're helping other kingdom entrepreneurs thrive in their business and vice versa, and they're going to do exchanges with you, and it's just going to be a really, really nice thing. So I think that you always have to go through this mindset of encouraging and helping your audience, and if you don't have the answers, that's a strategy you can use. And like I said, you can seek advice to a mentor or coach that can help you as well. And I think, Sebastien, you had something to say.
Well, what I wanted to say, first of all, is thank you, because you just delivered so many gold nuggets in this podcast. And I learned stuff, and I'm your husband, and I talk with you every day, and I learned some stuff because this is not my area of expertise, all this marketing and everything you talked about today. You know, it's not my area. I'm more of a Bible teacher and speaker and
a digger of scriptures, books,
bookworm, but that's okay, to each her strength. And I'm glad we did this podcast because it enabled also our listeners to see another side of you that they may not be familiar with, and that's the coach. This is the woman I brainstorm with every morning before I start my day, before we get to work. This is the Elisabeth I brainstorm with every day. So, and she's oftentimes come to me when I would, come to her and say, hey, what do you think? I want to talk about this and this, or so and so, or whatever subject. And she would look at it and go like, you know what? I don't really like the angle you take for this. Either because she thought I was being too raw, or I was maybe being in a problem right now and I was talking about it at the wrong time because I had not overcome it. And then she would say, you should talk about so and so instead, because this you have overcome, that you haven't overcome yet. And when you're an entrepreneur, there's always something you haven't overcome yet. Okay, and if you say that you overcome everything, well, you're God. So I know that's not the case. But anyway, she's been guiding me very well with that kind of stuff. Also with the when you go and do a Facebook Live, it's like, I'm going to talk to the group today, or I'm going to talk to, do a video on my page. I wanted to talk about so-and-so. Do you think I should talk about so-and-so experience I had? And she's either going to say, yeah, great idea, and maybe you should add that or this. See, this is the Elisabeth I deal with every day, and I'm just so glad you listeners got a dose of it, because it's so necessary to hear this stuff, because that's the stuff that makes your marketing, your public presentation work or fail. And there's so many little faux pas that we can do. And then, you know what? You'll never be perfect. We all do faux pas. Everyone does them. But when they can be avoided, it's really nice. I mean, if you're going to avoid a faux pas that's going to be costly in some way or another, either by, not adding value, or by putting yourself in a vulnerable position, overly vulnerable position, then it might as well avoid those faux pas. And I'm glad you did that podcast today. It was all her idea, and I'm happy I backed her up, because, like I said, I learned stuff, and I know they learned stuff.
And I've seen that happen to somebody in a group where they asked very personal questions, and it was clear that it was something that person was kind of struggling with, and it just kind of ruined the credibility of that person as a leader, and it affected his business afterwards. So I think that there's certain questions that you're questioning. The Christian the Christian network, the Christian body of Christ should be, when you're in a leadership position, you should be asking a Christian mentor, and you should be seeking counsel, and it doesn't have to be super abstract, oh, I have to go and find a mentor. It might be somebody in your church that you really admire, that has a lot of experience, and that's a really, really good woman or man of God that can give you that advice that you need. You might have a person that helps you with that, and you might have another Christian that helps you with the business side of things, right? Sometimes we need two different types of mentors or coaches, depending
definitely. Sometimes three,
depending on what we're going through, or what kind of position, what kind of title that we're aiming for, and what we're seeking to accomplish, right? So there's that. And lastly, we touched a bit on posture, and I think it's really important to talk about this as we conclude. Posture is confidence. It's belief in what you have to offer. It's standing behind what your message is. And a lot of people that are kind of thrown into this leadership position, like in network marketing, they have no idea what they're doing. They just thought they were going to talk about creams, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I have to be a leader, and people are going to join my team, and then they kind of freak out. Well, your posture has to be basically, people associate confidence with success, right? They're like, oh, well, when I have success, I'm going to be confident, and I'm going to be super postured. And yes, you will have more of that, obviously. But in the beginning, to actually get to that point, you have to have posture in your head and say,
it starts with the mindset.
I'm a Christian entrepreneur. I'm a kingdom entrepreneur working for the Most High God. God wants me to succeed. He has my back. Include him in all your business decisions. Talk with him every day. Lord, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I need to do this. I need to get this message across. Help me do it. He will be your strength, and get through it day by day like that. And always remember what your end goal is, right? What are you working towards? And have that in your mind. What are you working for? And it's not just material stuff that you want, right? That you're gaining. You're thinking of your assignment. You're thinking of adding value. You're thinking of pleasing God. So all that together combined, when you have the right mindset, should give you that right posture to say, I'm here adding value to people. I'm offering them something amazing that's going to give them breakthrough, that's going to help them, that's going to solve their problems. So get out of that mindset, that, I don't have the success, I don't have the results, people are going to know, I don't know, I don't have enough people on my team, people are going to know that I'm a fake because this, because that. We've all had those thoughts.
And this is all scarcity. All the phrases you mentioned says, I don't have.
Yeah, and they're all from the devil, because the devil doesn't want you to succeed. So he's going to just point out all the negative stuff that you can possibly imagine to make you so paralyzed in fear that you won't move. Right? So you have to stand behind what you're doing and have that right mentality. And go listen to our podcast on mindset versus kingdom mindset. Yeah. And that's going to help you as well. So we're going to finish with the verse that you're going to...
Yeah. Like what Liz was talking about, posture. And I think that is probably one of the best verses and passages in Scripture that talks about posture. Posture all begins with, two things. In God's kingdom, it begins with who you are. And who you are, in other words, who God says you are, affects your mindset the right way. It positions your mindset on the right facts, on the right truth. So if you have an established mindset on what God says you are, you're in a good position. And here's what Jesus said that we are, okay? He said, "You are the light of the world, like a city on a mountain, glowing in the night for all to see. Don't hide your light under a basket. Instead, put it on a stand and let it shine for all. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all who see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father."
Amen.
That's who we are, the light of the world, the salt of the earth.
You didn't say where you got that from.
It's in the Bible. Believe it or not. I'm kidding. Well, I'm not kidding. It is in the Bible. It's Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16.
That's really powerful. Stick that one on your fridge and be reminded by that every day.
Be reminded of who you are. Who you are. That's where everything, all the good stuff will come from. Who God says you are.
And reread them. Reread these verses. Don't read them just once. Stick it where you see it and reread it every day. Be reminded of that. Amen. So that you really live it out every day. Every time you have struggles, every time you lack confidence, reread it and go do what you have to do.
Well, Coach Liz, again, thank you so much for this really timely podcast on this very subject, because I've seen so many things online. I mean, there's so many ways people portray themselves, and the list goes on, but not all these methods are good. And I'm glad you shed some light, exactly as we were talking about. We are the light of the world, and you just shed some light on that subject, and I think it's going to help a lot of people.
I hope so. So be blessed.
And thrive on.
And don't forget to share the podcast. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving on Purpose podcast. Be sure to visit thrivingonpurpose.com to access the show notes and to discover more fantastic content. Until next time, be blessed and may you thrive on purpose.